So welcome everyone. My name is David Raymond. I'm the director of the Virginia Cyber Range and the US Cyber Range. And welcome back to our weekly workshops. So for those who have been with us for a while, we did weekly workshops a couple of years ago for a couple of years. So we have a pretty good list of workshops in our YouTube channel. We went through a ton of different content out of the Virginia Cyber Range courseware repository. We talked about capture the flag. We went through solving different kinds of CTF challenges, and we sort of ran out of stuff to talk about, so we shelved the weekly workshops for a while, and now we feel like it's time to start doing it again. So what we're going to do in these workshops is talk about different concepts related to cybersecurity education. We will start by talking about capture the flag for a few weeks, and we will delve into other topic areas later on. And hopefully this will be a resource that educators can use in the classroom or before they go into the classroom to sort of prepare for class, right? Really the target of these workshops is educators. We want to help you have the tools you need to teach your classes and to be more effective in the classroom. So today we're going to dive in with a high-level discussion of capture the flag, and we're going to spend a little bit of time introducing the Cyber Range CloudCTF platform. We did a survey, every semester we do a survey of the educators that use the Cyber Range, and in the fall survey we asked some questions about our CloudCTF platform. And we discovered that while a lot of teachers are using the CTF platform, quite a few are not. And some of the reasons people are not using it are just lack of knowledge about the platform, maybe a little bit of lack of time to learn how to use it, and just also a lack of just understanding of capture the flag and how students would even participate in a CTF exercise. So what I hope to do over the next several weeks is start with this very introductory discussion around the around capture the flag, from a high level, and then jump into the platform itself and just show you around the platform how to deploy it to your class, what it looks like for a player, what it looks like for an admin, how students access the CTF. We'll talk about administrative functions and how do you get help if you're trying to figure out how to set up a CTF and you're not quite sure what to do. So we'll start with sort of the basic configuration of the CTF, and then next time we'll start talking about CTF challenge management. So how do you get challenges into your CTF? How do you delete challenges that you don't want to use? How do you find interesting challenges that you can put in the CTF? How to create your own, etc. And we'll get into that next time. This is really intended to last for maybe 20 or at the very most 30 minutes. So we want to keep these relatively short. Again, we will post these to our YouTube channel, so they'll be available in the future. And with that, I'm going to dive right in. Please feel free to ask questions along the way. I have a chat window open. I'll try to keep my eye on the chat. Or if you want to unmute and ask a question, you're welcome to do that as well. So what is capture the flag? Capture the flag is a cybersecurity competition. At least the capture the flag we're going to talk about is a cybersecurity competition. These can be individual or team-based. So individual students can participate in some of these, or teams of students can participate in these. Sometimes they're in person. So we host an annual event for Virginia colleges and universities, for example. And we hosted that. We host that each February in person. That's done by the Virginia Cyber Range. We host CTFs at some different conferences. Those are generally in-person events. And then we also host CTFs that are available to anybody who wants to participate, right? So we host some different things for different partners where people across the country or even around the world will play the CTF. So these can be in person or remote, and that's kind of the beauty of a Jeopardy style capture the flag competition is you don't have to be there, right? You can sort of do it from wherever you are. There are different formats. The one we're going to be talking about is Jeopardy style CTF. They're probably the most popular. They're the easiest to create, and the term Jeopardy style comes from the game show Jeopardy, right? So in Jeopardy, you have questions across different categories, and the point values increase as the difficulty of the questions increase. And that's the same idea with a Jeopardy style capture the flag competition. You have challenges, and we'll talk about what the challenges look like more as we go along here, but we have challenges in different categories. And as the challenges get more difficult, the point values increase. And later in some later sessions, we'll talk about how to approach different kinds of CTF challenges. That'll help as students progress from the easier challenges into the more difficult ones. Another kind of CTF that's really interesting is the second sub bullet I have here, an attack, defend, or red-blue CTF. That's where you have students sort of setting up their own networks, and then you have them defending their own network while they're attacking other networks. We may talk about that later in this weekly workshop series. We're not going to talk about it in the context of these CTF sessions. The primary CTFs that we support in the Virginia Cyber Range and the US Cyber Range right now are Jeopardy style, but later on we will be supporting some of these attack defend kinds of competitions, and so again we'll talk about that more later on. CTFs are hosted by all kinds of different people, right? So teachers host these in the classroom, but both high school teachers and college professors use these in class. And I know of definitely high school teachers and college faculty who do this for lots of different reasons. But they're a great teaching tool, right? It's great self-directed learning. When you point students at a capture the flag competition, they're almost always going to have to teach themselves something new in order to solve any particular challenge. And certainly if they're going to progress up the difficulty level of challenges in a particular category, they're almost always going to have to do some self-directed learning and teach themselves how to do new things. The capture the flag competitions are hosted by college CTF teams. So the Virginia Tech CTF team hosts an annual CTF. I know of colleges across the state of Virginia who do it. That's my sort of viewpoint on the ecosystem. I know that UVA hosts a CTF. Old Dominion University does. GMU hosts an annual CTF. Certainly there are others, and it's really interesting this dynamic that's grown over the last several years, where college CTF teams will host CTFs, and then other colleges will play the CTFs, and then the next weekend it's somebody else's turn to host a CTF, and all those same college teams come together and play in those CTFs. So it's an ecosystem that's grown over the last several years, and as students progress from high school into college, they'll certainly have opportunities to play more CTFs. Companies who are looking for talent host CTFs, and really they're doing that to identify students who do well on these competitions, because they want to offer them internships and employment later on, right? Companies like Google and Facebook and others do this, and so students who participate in a lot of CTFs ought to look for those kinds of opportunities, because again, that's a potential way that you can find an internship or even a future job with one of these companies. And then the Department of Defense and other government agencies also do capture the flag for the same reasons, right? They want to identify students who might work for them later on. The Department of Energy is very active in this sector. They have a couple of different annual exercises that they host, and there are other government agencies who do that as well. Okay, why CTFs? CTFs are a fun way to learn about cybersecurity topics, right? It's a sort of gamified environment. And it's cool to jump into a sort of a new capture the flag competition and pull a question off the list and analyze that question, find the answer, and then submit the flag and get points for it. It just makes you feel good. You get this, endorphin rush. It's like playing any other game, right? When you find success, it makes you want to be more successful and solve more challenges. So these are very popular. They've been very popular amongst college clubs for years, and they're definitely getting more and more popular amongst high school students. So if you're teaching a cybersecurity class, I strongly encourage you to at least introduce your students to capture the flag and let them get a taste of it. My second bullet there, a well-designed CTF caters to a wide range of ability levels, right? You want to have challenges that appeal to entry-level participants, right? Something that the beginners can do, because again, you want everybody to have some level of success so they come back later and want to do it some more. But you also have to cater to those more advanced students. The students have been doing it for a while. So you want to have a wide range of ability levels. I always encourage students to go after questions according to their ability, right? The ninjas shouldn't waste their time with the easy challenges. Let other students work on the easy challenges. The guys and gals who've been doing this for a while and who have a better skill set should go after those most difficult challenges. And then a well-designed CTF encourages independent learning, as I talked about before. And these exercise real-world skills, right? You're doing things like digital forensics, and you're analyzing network packet captures, just like a security analyst does. You're looking for vulnerabilities in websites, just like security analysts do, in various places to try to secure things that are broken. So you're exercising the skills that real world cybersecurity professionals do every day. And then of course, CTFs can be used for team building events. They can be used for skills assessment. You can use them in the classroom. Students on the weekends can do it as part of a club activity. Lots of room for using these in different ways. This picture I have in the slide, I show this picture a lot. I'd love to see this kind of thing. It's a group of about 130 college students, and they're in a classroom on the Virginia Tech campus at about 9 o'clock on a Saturday morning. They're doing a thing that looks like schoolwork, right? They're all hunched over laptops, concentrating hard. What they're doing is they're all there voluntarily. They're students from 4 different states, and they are participating in a Capture the Flag event that the Virginia Tech Cybersecurity Club hosts every year. This was pre-COVID. It used to be on campus every year. Since COVID, it's been held remotely, but hopefully we get back to this on-campus event again in the future, because it's just a lot of fun to get these students together, vying for this prize. And really the prize is just to be able to say they won, right? There's no real prizes handed out. They just get to have bragging rights until next year. So that just kind of gives an indication of the level of energy around Capture the Flag. Okay, so the specific platform I'm going to use to walk through hosting your own CTFs is the CyberRange CloudCTF platform. This is a CTF platform that we deployed back in 2020. Players solve challenges in various categories, and again, they're used for they can be used for these different ways that I've listed here. And I have a screenshot of the platform. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to jump into the CyberRange, and I'm going to start talking about the different features and how to use them in our CloudCTF platform. And while I'm doing that, this is a good opportunity to ask questions if anybody has any questions along the way. So I'm going to use the Virginia CyberRange for my demos here, and I'm going to log in, and I'm logging in as an instructor. So I'm going to show you the instructor view, and then in a minute I'm going to take you to the student view, so you'll know what your students see when they play the CTF. You'll see that the look and feel is very similar between the student and the instructor. It's just that as the instructor, you are the admin for the CTF, so you have some functions that the students don't have access to. Okay, I'm an instructor, and I just happen to have a lot of courses in the range for various reasons. One of my courses is one called Weekly Workshops. I created this course this morning, and I've got a CTF in here, right? So a CTF is deployed just like any other exercise environment. So to get this here, what I would do is I would go to my toolbar here, and I have the tool for adding an exercise environment. And if I click on that toolbar and go to my drop-down list, here's my catalog of environments. This should look familiar, right? You have the cyber.org environment, you have the Teach Cyber environment, and then you have the rest of the CyberRange catalog. And right up at the very top is CloudCTF, right? So you should go to the environment list and select CloudCTF, and that will show up in your course, just like any other exercise environment. Now, in the Virginia CyberRange, instructors are limited to 2 exercise environments plus a CTF, right? So if you have 2 environments in there and you think, oh, I can only have 2, right? I can't have a CTF. You can have a CTF. You can have 2 regular exercise environments, plus you can have a CTF. we have to put some limits on the number of environments you can provision because we need to stay within our budget. But you can have a total of 3 environments if one of them is a CTF. And then on the US cyber range side, all cyber range rate plans include the CTF option, so you can provision the CTF in your class. And the rate plan determines the limitations around other environments that you can provision, but all US cyber range rate plans include the CloudCTF. Okay, so I've got it provisioned. I click on the CTF, and then I push the play button. And here I am in the CTF. So you'll notice I said I created this course today and I provisioned the CTF today, right? So the CTF was provisioned on February 28th, and the end date of the course is May 31st, the default end date for this course that I set. And so when I first start up the CTF, it's active and it ends in 92 days because that's when May 31st comes, right? So as we go along here, I'm going to talk about how to change those dates. And Chris in the chat here asks if CloudCTF is available in the US cyber range. Absolutely, yes. Every US cyber range rate plan includes CloudCTF, so you can definitely provision one of these in your class. Okay, so I'm going to click the start button. This gets me into the CTF, and here I am, right? And so this is a CTF that I just provisioned. I haven't done anything inside the CTF itself. I provisioned it this morning, and I haven't touched it, right? So when you create one of these, you're going to get this default set of challenges. And the challenges are in categories that are shown here, right? So there's cryptography challenges. Again, each one of these is a challenge, and you see that they have point values that increase as the challenge gets more difficult. There are networking challenges. There's this ready player category. There's reconnaissance challenges, reverse engineering challenges, and web challenges. So these are the default challenges that come with CloudCTF when you deploy it in your class. This has been pretty static for quite a while. We do switch challenges in and out of this default set periodically. Next week, I'm going to talk a lot about how to manage the set of challenges that you present to your students. But if you just want to start them off with a sort of standard set of stuff, you can deploy this. And these are the challenges that your students will see in the platform. Up at the top here, you have the standard menu, right? So I have the challenges menu. So when I click on challenges, I see the challenges across these different categories. When I click on my team, I'll talk about teams in a minute. When I click on my team, I see myself. And when students join the Capture the Flag platform, they can either join a team or create a team depending on how you set up the CTF. There's a real-time scoreboard. So when students start solving challenges, what you'll see up here is this real-time scoreboard of points for different teams as they solve challenges. And then you also see a list of teams. So this scoreboard obviously is not very interesting because nobody's played this CTF. I just deployed it, but maybe next time we'll take a look at a scoreboard that's had some activity in it and you see that it's a little bit more interesting. And then this is the important menu item. I click on admins up on the top here. This is where you configure the CTF. And so I'll go quickly across the different admin settings in the CTF here. The first one, the first menu under admins is the settings. So this is the basic settings. So the things that you can change in here are things like the competition name, right? I can change the name of this CTF to Weekly Workshop CTF. And so when my students join the CTF, this is the name they're going to see. And we'll take a look at that in a minute. I can also change the start date and the end date of the CTF. Okay, so this is useful if you're going to use this for a specific event and you want to define the start time and the end time. So for example, if I'm going to run if I want to have a CTF this evening for my students and I want it to start at 7 p.m. So I'll set the start I'll set the start date to February 28th, and I set the start time to 1900, 7 p.m., right? And then I click confirm. Now the students can't get into this, won't be able to get into the CTF until 7 p.m. tonight. And then if I want to set it to automatically end at, let's say, 10 p.m., then I can just change my my date and time picker here, right? So now I set the, whoops, it's set to May, so I'm going to go back to February. I'm setting the end date to February 28th and the time to 2200. So now this CTF is going to be available from 7 p.m. tonight until 10 p.m. tonight. And I confirm that. And then I hit confirm, and that's going to lock that in. So now if I were to go out to the main page here, this changes. Right now this says it starts in 2 hours and 37 minutes because that's when it's going to be 7 p.m. So that's when the challenges will open up for whoever else joins this CTF. Of course, as the admin, I can still see all the challenges because I'm the admin, but the students won't be able to see the challenges if the CTF start time has not arrived yet. I can set this up for team play, right? So I can click the button here that says allow players to change teams. So now when players join the CTF, they can join a team. And if you click this button, they're going to be able to create a team. So they can create a team and join a team if you click on these two check boxes. And you can allow the students to change their names or not. So when they join the CTF, they're going to join using, just like when they log into CyberRange, they're going to use their OpenID provider. So the name that they're going to get is whatever comes along with their Google or their Microsoft account. So if you click this button, that allows the students to change their names in the system. And that really depends on how much you trust your students to not put crazy names in there, right? If you want to make sure you know who they are when they're solving challenges, then you can leave that off so they can't change their names. But if you want to allow them to put in whatever they want, then you can turn that on. And then you can set the scoreboard to be active or not, and you can set it to be available to people who are not logged in, right? If I click this button that says allow unregistered users to view the scoreboard, now if somebody's not logged in, they'll still be able to see the scoreboard if they just go to this particular CTF and they go to the scoreboard menu item, they'll be able to see the scoreboard. Over here on the right side, there's some maximums that we set in the CTF platform, and these are not changeable by the instructor. If you need those maximums changed, you know, these are pretty generous, but if you need these changed, then you can reach out to our support team and they'll help you make modifications to these things. And then the theme is important too, right? So we have this default theme. There are other themes. So I can change my theme, for example, to the circuit theme. Maybe I want to have the circuit theme. And I click confirm over here. And I reload the page. And now the CTF looks different, right? So this just, you know, gives you some flexibility in what the background looks like, and you know, what the students see when they interact with the platform. On the players tab, you'll be able to see all the players in the CTF. So all the students who join, you'll see them listed here. On the teams menu item, you'll see teams. So if students create their own teams and then join teams, you'll see the teams here. And then on the players tab, you'll be able to see what team they're in. The challenges tab lists all the challenges in this CTF. So again, we're going to talk more next time about challenge management. So how do I create my own challenges? How do I add challenges from the library, et cetera? We'll talk about that later. Here I can see the challenges that are in this CTF. And this is helpful it's helpful seeing them in just a list for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's nice to see for each challenge, how many people have solved it, right? If this will tell you how many teams have solved each individual challenge, and you can sort this list by the highest to the lowest. And this tells you, you know, if a certain challenge has only been solved by one or two teams, then that might tell you that that's a topic that you want to focus more on in class or something like that, right? So you can see total number of failed attempts for each challenge, here, total number of successful attempts here. Of course, you get the point values for each one of the challenges and et cetera. And you can remove challenges here, right? So I can go right in here and edit or delete challenges. But we'll talk more about that later on. And the library tab. The library tab is our library of challenges that you can import into your CTF in your class. And again, I'm going to talk about that a lot more next time when we get into challenge management. Okay, so this is what I see as the teacher, right? If I provision a CTF in my class, I'm the admin for a CTF that I create in my class, and I can these are all the different ways I can modify it to suit the needs of my students. I'm going to quickly show you what this looks like from the student view, right? So here I am logged into the CyberRange as a student, and I'm in this weekly workshops class. And so here I'm going to click on the CTF. So here I am joining the CTF. Again, this looks very similar. Here's me, I'm a student. I see that new name, right? I renamed the CTF. Now it's called the Weekly Workshop CTF. Here this tells me that it starts in 2 hours, 31 minutes. And I can click the start button here, and it's gonna log me into the CTF. And since I changed the configuration on that admin page, now as a student, I can either play solo, so I can just play all by myself, or I can join a team, or I can create a team that other people can join. So here I'm just going to click the play solo button. I'm going to be a loner. Okay, but now I can't play, right? Because if you recall, as the admin, I changed the start time to 7 p.m. So now I'm going to go back to the admin page. I'm an admin again. And I'm going to change the start time. Let's say I want to make it available at 3 p.m. So now it's available February 28th at 3 p.m. And if I go back to my student page and I reload, okay, now I can see the questions, right? Because the admin has set this up so that I can get into it. And the way to play the CTF is I click on a challenge, I try to figure out what this means, and then I put in the flag, I put in the answer, and that gives me the points. And we'll get to that a lot later on in the process. Okay, so that is deploying a CTF in your classroom and some basic configuration settings. And the last thing I want to talk about is how to get help, right? So that was a fairly quick overview. Of course, you can rewind and watch it again. You can reach out to us and ask questions. So obviously, our customer support team is available to answer your questions about the CloudCTF platform. So if you're a Virginia CyberRange user, you can reach out to support@virginiacyberrange.org. If you're a US CyberRange user, you can reach out to support@uscyberrange.org. We also have a pretty extensive knowledge base related to the CTF. So if you want to find out more about it, you can go to kb.virginiacyberrange.org or kb.uscyberrange.org. And from the KB homepage, there's a section on Capture the Flag admin and a section on Capture the Flag player. You just select which one of those you want to dive into, and there's lots of resources and articles and videos around managing the CloudCTF platform. All right, so that's it. Next time we're going to talk about CTF challenge management.